40 years ago, Paul Stanley co-created the iconic rock band Kiss. You just saw them in action. I listened to them growing up. Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. But he has sold 100 million. You guys have sold 100 million
records.
Huge
actually.
success.
But who's counting?
Yeah, who's counting it? But yet, you know, you write in your book, and this is so interesting because you hear about fame and fortune and all that, and then there seems to be sometimes this unspoken story that eventually comes out. You write about how you felt so isolated.
Yeah, well, I was very fortunate because in one sense, I had cards dealt to me that were not optimal. I was born deaf on one side, on the right side, didn't have a right ear, and grew up in a less than optimal situation at home, not a very supportive family. And I believed that becoming famous would be my ticket to happiness. Nobody should cry about my past, but the truth is, once I became successful and famous, I was suddenly struck with the fact that I was still unhappy. Secrets are something that you can keep from other people, but you can never keep them from yourself. So I had to still deal with my feelings of insecurity, inadequacy, and a lot of doubts that had popped up over the years. So at that point, I decided, roll up your sleeves and get your life in order, because when you play the victim, the only person who's compromised is you. So
can we explain to us about the...
Sure. I have a condition I was born with called a microtia, which comes in different levels. Basically, I was born with a malformed piece of cartilage, no ear canal, and back then to have short hair and to have to go through the scrutiny of kids and adults was very difficult. It was a sense of always being naked in front of people and never being able to hide, a very vulnerable situation.
Well, you said you didn't have a very supportive family. What happened there? Your parents didn't make you feel secure or tell you?
My parents certainly weren't doing anything to be malicious, but perhaps they were part of a generation that said if we don't acknowledge something, it's not there.
Yeah.
So if we don't acknowledge pain, there is no pain. But it doesn't deal with the real issues. It's like if you give people tough love, if you give your children tough love, it's well-intentioned, but it's not really love. If you get somebody who's crippled to run in a race by kicking them in the leg, they may run the race, but you're ignoring the psychological component, you know, the psychological component.
Were you bullied?
I was bullied. I was teased. I was called Stanley the One-Eared Monster. And yeah, you know, things weren't easy, but life is ultimately about what you make of it. And I couldn't have written a book like this if it didn't have a happy ending. I have 4 spectacular children. I have an amazing wife, and perhaps it's some sort of inspiration for other people. It doesn't get any better than that.
Look at that.
So,
wow.
Emily is 2.5, Sarah's 5, Colin is 7. Evan is in the Tisch music program at NYU, and he's turning 20 this week. And my beautiful wife, right here, Erin, was an attorney, a practicing attorney, and that's me.
Wow.
Well, what was the turning point for you where you decided, you know what, I'm going to move forward? Was this after you had your major success with Kiss?
Oh, definitely. I've always been a survivor and always believed that our fate is up to us. It's really what we make of our lives. So at some point I just realized you either live with a toothache or you get a root canal. You either start digging and excavating whatever the decay is, or you can bite down and grin and bear it. I wanted to have a great life, and I have a life that I never even knew existed.
What started you digging? What was the reason you said
Seeing that I didn't have a lot of friends, and in some way I was really the one who was responsible for not having friends. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy. Since I was afraid of being ridiculed, I put myself in a position where people didn't want to be around me, and I found myself doing a lot of the things that I saw at home, which we all do. We tend to model off what we see in our houses.
Like what?
Really that attitude of a stiff upper lip and making believe nothing really matters or nothing really hurts us. And I saw myself destined for a life that was not going to end well or just was going to be very unsatisfying.
It must have been very difficult for people to approach you. Because you had that stand
It was. You know, sometimes you find yourself, or certainly I did, in a position of I'll hit before somebody hits me.
Right. Sure.
And quite honestly, a lot of the times people are just being kind.
Is there, when you, back to the microtia, so it's called?
Yes.
Did that, it clearly didn't affect your ability to play music
No.
or to sing or anything? I mean, I would
No.
assume because with hearing with one side?
Music has always been my passion, and it's really been my deliverance from the life I had. And truly, you don't miss what you never had. So for me, I hear normally. Hearing stereo like you do would be very odd to me. So it's all relative. My love of music is in spite of the fact that I don't hear on both sides.
Well, this is going to be your 40th anniversary
It
with
is.
KISS, and you were recently inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Or indicted into
Indicted.
Yeah, that's definitely what. So many things, as I said, you know, I followed you guys. I was in love with the band and the makeup and all of that. So a couple of things here, first of all. Let's talk about there it is. Did you guys do all the makeup yourself?
We still do.
You do?
It's very much a ritual for us. Not unlike a prize fighter getting ready to fight in shadow boxing. We're gearing up for battle, and we're gearing up for everything that we hold sacred. So it's a process where we are locked in a room together, and we put on our war paint and go out to celebrate what we've been doing for 40 years.
Now, one of the things that's obvious besides the pyrotechnic and the makeup and all is how tall you guys are, and how you get around the stage with those infamous boots. They're a personality unto themselves. Look at this.
That.
We have them.
These infamous boots.
Look.
Look
Yes.
at that.
Look at that.
Those are ones you actually wore. They're not.
Yes, and they probably weigh about 30 pounds. Wow. So the air up there when I'm wearing them, it's very thin. I have to duck from low-flying planes.
Do you ever twist an ankle, roll a ankle?
Paul?
No, my ego doesn't allow me. You know.
Well, these are constructed in such a way.
Yes.
Whose idea was this? Who built this? Who built these?
We find
they're
people who
reinforced.
can build these kind of boots for us because, quite honestly, to run around in a boot that's not really secure would be very dangerous.
Yeah.
And
Doesn't add much to the show when you're laying up there.
Well, the problem when you have a show as big as ours is anything that goes wrong, people think is part of the show.
Right.
So if I fell down, they'd go, yes.
Yeah. Right. Have you had any accidents on stage?
I have not, except when the band first started out at our first show in front of 4,000 people. I was a little stockier at the time, and I wore a ornamental belt that was actually more like a corset. But I had a pair of pants that I had made, trousers I had made, and I popped the top button. So I spent the...
Wait, during the show?
Yes, yes, and it could have led to a very, very interesting finale. But,
Were your pants hooked up to it, or were your pants falling?
Yeah, my pants were falling, and I was pressing my guitar against them to make sure
They wouldn't fall.
that they wouldn't fall down.
Where?
It's hard to follow that.
Yeah, that's true. That's a big finish, so to speak. Where did because you know you look at the designs because everybody has their own signature. Did you guys sit down and go, you do this and Gene does that and you do the star? How did the star come out?
I think there was a synchronicity between us, and we all fed off each other. I started with the idea of having a star in both eyes. I've always seen myself, some people are hams, I'm the whole pig. I love being in front of people. So the idea was to have a star in both eyes, but to make a one-dimensional object on a three-dimensional surface is pretty difficult to make it so that it looks right from the front at least. So I got one done and I was about to start the next and I went, nah.
Just quit while you're ahead.
We're going to leave it at one.
But did you ever go to any makeup artists, professionals, to try to go, how can I take this and make it better?
No.
You didn't.
It was trial by fire, and there were countless nights where I might be on stage, makeup running into my eyes, and I'd be, like Frankenstein walking around the stage.
Did you guys all? These are all your own original ideas of
Yes.
what each of you wanted. Did you guys have approval over the others, or you just?
Well, we all were. We all looked at each other and went, "Wow,
It's working.
that's pretty good. You look like a guy in Kiss."
Well, wonderful. Paul's book is available. It's called Face the Music. It's in stores now. By the way, the tour, Kiss's 2014 North American tour, starts June 23rd.
Where? 'Cause I need to
KissOnline.com
go.
for
Where is
tickets and tour dates.
Here in LA?
We will be in LA, and you will be at the show.